we have a 2001 to 2004 Civic 1.6, and why he's here, of course, he wants more power, and only Unichip can tune this car. No remap. E-Manage is basically dead. AEM is horribly expensive. Don't even mind how the Honda, by the way, does not work on the local ES cars like this one, so that's not an option either. So the only option is Unichip for this one. And first things first, what we notice, it has an intake made by this idiot. But anyway, it's fine. It's just a tube anyway. Then we have a set of 4-1 headers over there. The most telling part is it's on a scavenger pipe setup, meaning that his exhaust piping is only up to here. There's no muffler, there's no silencer, there's no resonator, nothing. It just stops here. So experience already tells us why he's here, because number one, there's no power at the low to mid end. Walang arangkada, walang hatak, because of this kind of setup. Yeah, that's what we aim to correct. This is the Unichip that we'll be installing. So, and then it comes with a corresponding wiring diagram. So it depends on what car. So we have a lot, and only we have access to the entire database of how to wire the Unichip into the car. So basically, here's our cheat code. Okay, it looks a bit daunting, but I'll try to explain as easy as possible. So the plugs of the Unichip, which is this one here, right? Wait, let's remove this sucker here. Most people have terms for something like this. It's called most commonly it's called a piggyback ECU. What I like to call it, a more accurate term, is a signal interceptor and modifier, because everything in an EFI car works on signals, meaning electricity, voltage. So this one here corresponds to that. So this is on the version X Plus, which has an extra set of ports. So what it simply means is this is wires going in and wires going out. So here we have earth and we have 12 volts. So earth is ground, so that's positive. So because the thing needs power to work. This is TPS in, TPS out. So this is connected to your throttle body. This is what determines how much pedal you step on it, and because it determines the throttle valve angle. Then this one here, you have 3 slots here for different kinds of ignition timing. We have a square wave, we have a sine wave, and we have a digital signal. And this is the modified signal that goes out. Same thing with fuel in. It's a modified signal. So let's say here in the input is 1 volt. We can modify to 2 volts, 3 volts, 1.5 volts, 0.5 volts, then it throws it back out. This is an extra input for anything that's 0 to 5. Could be a map sensor, could be a knock sensor, could be a mass airflow sensor. This is a map switch, so this is what we connect if you want that fancy map switching option. Signal 1, option 3, so this is also an extra set of outputs which you don't really need. This one is usually what we use for most European cars that don't have this part here. So we have this on can high, can low. In a nutshell, what happens is this. It's easier to explain on the blackboard. Let's take one sensor. So okay, let's take a mass airflow sensor. Because that's the easiest one for most people to understand. So that's your typical mass airflow sensor. You usually have 5 wires here. One of them is definitely power, one of them is definitely ground, one is signal, and the other one is temp. Usually it's a temp sensor. Then this other one can be another ground. What more interested in is this one, signal. So this wire, this mass airflow sensor wire signal, now, before it goes into the ECU like that. So ECU, mass airflow. Then the output is actually to the injector itself. So this is the thing that squirts out the fuel like that. It's a very, very simplified one, but basically that's what it is. What happens is, for every, there's an Excel file in here that corresponds, say, every 1 volt that comes into the ECU, goes in, arbitrate 10 out. So injector squirts 10 fuel, 20 volts squirts 20 fuel, 30 volts squirts 30 fuel, so on and so forth. So what Unichip does is, it's a signal modifier. So again, signal though. So let's say we have 1 volt going in, goes to the Unichip. Now I can change the voltage. Instead of 1 volt, I can make it 0.5 volts. Let's make it a blur V. So there's also a corresponding here. So 0.5 volts here now gives us 5 fuel, which means we're now able to control how much fuel the engine gets. So now we're injecting less fuel. Correspondingly, I can also make this 2.5 volts. So this now will give me 25 fuel out. So that's how basically Unichip works. It works the same for the timing signal. It's also voltage in, voltage out. So we can either advance or retard the voltage for timing. For the map sensor, it's also a plus and a minus. So this is ignition. This is MAP. We can also control nitrous with it. Also voltage. So negative means off, positive means on. So in a nutshell, this is what Unichip does. For every corresponding input, there's a corresponding output. And just in case you're wondering for the ignition timing, our input is actually the crank sensor. It looks something like this one. It's like a little microphone. So again, goes in. And this actually goes to the spark plug itself. So same thing, I can advance, I can retard when the spark plug fires. So this Unichip basically works for anything 1992 pretty much to around 2005. Unichip's pretty much the only thing that works. So that includes Corolla, Lancer, Miata, Civic VTI, Suzuki Swift, Mazda 323, Mazda Familia, all the classic 90s cars that you grew up with. And for Toyotas, for to pretty much 2024 Vios. Because the Vios cannot be remapped. Same thing for the Altis. Your Altis all the way up to now to the hybrid one can be tuned only by Unichip. And our suspicions are correct after our first initial dyno run. So this is power. As you can see here, this is from 1.7 all the way up to 3.5. It's flat at 20 horses. Walang hatak. That's not the correct graph. The correct graph of a gasoline car should be like that. There should be a straight line going there all the way there. So this area is patay. Wala. Even torque, it dips actually. Torque should not be like that. Torque should be a mountain like this that peaks at 4,000 RPM, not a valley like this. So for all you makukulit racing people who want a scavenger setup, that is a disadvantage. And here at peak at 90 horsepower, as you can see, it's not that much more powerful either, because that's pretty much what a stock 1.6 of this does. 90 horses, 100 horses, if you're lucky. So whatever mods that he did to this car gave him 0 horsepower. No, not that's all right. Whatever he did to this car gave him negative horsepower, as seen here on the dyno. right, our dyno with the Unichip is finished, and this is the result. So again, this is stock, so pretty much flat until 3.5, then shoots up. 90 horses is basically nothing. This is now after tuning. So from the get-go, we went from 5 horsepower to 23 horse, from 12 to 40 horse, from 15 to 50 horse. This is about 25 to 55 horse, so on and so forth. Then this is about 5 horse, 5 horse, 10 horse, 10 horse, 10 horse, 10 horse, 10 horse. So if I average this gain out, this is about 25 horses increase from stock. No thanks in part to this one, because this is not supposed to be like that to begin with. If he has a correct, proper exhaust system, which goes from here all the way to the back, this should be a straight line right here, like that. There. But, well, definitely, he'll feel that. And torque also, so it went from there to there. So, that's a bit more correct now. So peak torque is, again, for most gas engine, peak torque is at 4,000 RPM. This one's almost at 5. So, but from here, we went from 25 to 75, 25 to 75 again, 25 to, that's about 85, 9, that's about 85 right there. Then it tapers off. So this is what's important here in city driving, because 99% of your time is spent here up to about 3,500 RPM.